I would like to call to order this meeting of the Forest Grove City Council at 7:03 on April 8th, 2024. Will the city recorder please call roll?
Councilor Gustafson?
Here.
Council President Rupie?
Here.
Councilor Martinez?
Here.
Councilor Marshall?
Here.
Councilor Valenzuela?
Here.
Councilor Ewing? Absent.
Absent. Oh, do you want me to say that?
And Mayor Wenzel?
Here. Forest Grove City Council meetings are located on the land of the Tualatin Kalapuas, who call themselves the Atfalati. They are now part of the Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde. Will the audience and council please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Sorry, I need to see an eye doctor. So I'm having a really hard time. Who experience abuse are uniquely affected because they are still developing and therefore suffer lifelong effects to their physical and emotional health. And whereas sexual violence, childhood abuse, and interpersonal crime affect all people, but disproportionately affect those impacted by systemic inequities. And whereas when harm does occur, we are determined to respond by helping survivors find not only safety, healing, and justice, but also equitable access to services, a sense of hope for their future, and the tools to rebuild their lives. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Forest Grove does hereby proclaim April 2024 and April 22nd through April 26th as Child Abuse Prevention Month and Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Crime Victims' Rights Week in Forest Grove, Oregon, Washington County, and reaffirms our commitment to supporting a coordinated and collaborative community of providers that deliver intervention and prevention services of violence and abuse all year long.
Proclamación. Mes de la prevención del abuso infantil y mes de la concientización de la agresión sexual y Semana de los Derechos de Víctimas del Delito. Considerando que Oregon registra tasas más altas de violencia doméstica, agresión sexual y trauma infantil que el promedio nacional, y considerando que el abuso infantil y la violencia sexual son algunos de los problemas de salud pública más serios y que numerosos estudios documentan el vínculo entre el trauma y una amplia gama de experiencias médicas, emocionales, psicológicas y conductuales, con efectos tanto a corto como a largo plazo. Y considerando que los niños que sufren abuso se ven especialmente afectados porque aún se están desarrollando y por lo tanto sufren efectos permanentes en su salud física y emocional. Y considerando que la violencia sexual, el abuso infantil y los delitos interpersonales afectan a todas las personas, pero afectan de manera desproporcionada a quienes se ven afectados por desigualdades sistémicas. Y considerando que cuando ocurre un daño estamos decididos a responder, ayudando a los sobrevivientes a encontrar no solo seguridad, curación y justicia, sino también acceso equitativo a los servicios, un sentido de esperanza para su futuro y las herramientas para reconstruir sus vidas. Ahora, por lo tanto, el Ayuntamiento de la ciudad de Forest Grove, por la presente proclama al mes de abril 2024 y a la semana del 22 al 26 de abril 2024 como mes de la prevención del abuso infantil y mes de la concientización de la agresión sexual, semana de los derechos de víctimas del delito. En Forest Grove, Oregon, Condado de Washington, y reafirma nuestro compromiso de apoyar una comunidad coordinada y colaborativa de proveedores que brindan servicios de intervención y prevención de violencia y abuso durante todo el año. En testimonio de lo cual ha suscrito la presente y ha hecho que el sello de la ciudad de Forest Grove, Oregon, se emplace en este día 8 de abril nuestra alcaldesa, Alinda Wilson.
Our second proclamation tonight is for National Library Week. Whereas libraries provide the opportunity for everyone to pursue their passion and engage in lifelong learning, allowing them to live their best life. And whereas libraries have long served as trusted institutions for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. And whereas libraries strive to develop and maintain programs and collections that are as diverse as the populations they serve, and ensure equity of access for all. And whereas libraries play a critical role in the economic vitality of communities by providing internet and technology access, literacy skills, and support for job seekers, small businesses, and entrepreneurs. And whereas libraries are accessible and inclusive places that promote a sense of local connection, advancing understanding, civic engagement, and community goals, and shared community goals. And whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week with the theme, Ready, Set, Library. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Forest Grove does hereby proclaim April 7th through April 13th, 2024 as National Library Week. During this week, we encourage all residents to visit their local library to explore the wealth of resources available. Thank you.
Proclamación, Semana Nacional de la Biblioteca. Considerando que las bibliotecas brindan la oportunidad para que todos persigan su pasión y participen en el aprendizaje permanente, lo que les permite vivir su mejor vida, y considerando que las bibliotecas han servido durante mucho tiempo como instituciones de confianza para todos los miembros de la comunidad, independientemente de su raza, etnia, credo, capacidad, orientación sexual, identidad de género o condiciones socioeconómicas. Y considerando que las bibliotecas se esfuerzan por desarrollar y mantener programas y colecciones que sean tan diversas como las poblaciones a las que sirven y garantizar la igualdad de acceso para todos, y considerando que las bibliotecas desempeñan un papel fundamental en la vitalidad económica de las comunidades al proporcionar acceso a Internet y tecnología, habilidades de alfabetización y apoyos para quienes buscan trabajo, pequeñas empresas y empresarios. Considerando que las bibliotecas son lugares accesibles e inclusivos que promueven un sentido de conexión local, fomentando la comprensión, el compromiso cívico y los objetivos comunitarios compartidos, y considerando que las bibliotecas, los bibliotecarios y los trabajadores de las bibliotecas se unen a los partidarios y defensores de las bibliotecas en todo el país para celebrar la Semana Nacional de la Biblioteca con el tema en sus marcas Listos Biblioteca. Ahora, por lo tanto, el Consejo Municipal de la ciudad de Forest Grove por la presente proclama el 7 al 13 de abril de 2024 como Semana Nacional de la Biblioteca. Durante esta semana alentamos a todos los residentes a visitar su biblioteca local para explorar la gran cantidad de recursos disponibles. El testimonio firma la presente y hace que se coloque el sello de la ciudad de Forest Grove, Oregon, este 8 de abril de 2024, nuestra alcaldesa.
Okay, we are moving on to item B on our agenda, which is public comment. Time provided for anyone wishing to speak to the City Council on an item not on the agenda or on the agenda but not scheduled for a public hearing. Comments are limited to 2 minutes unless additional time is granted by the presiding officer. The public comment period shall not exceed 30 minutes unless a majority of councilors present vote to extend the time. Zoom attendees may use the raise hand option to be called on. Okay, so first up is Mr. Tyler Curtis. Could you please come? Is there a chair where the microphone is? Thank you. Hello, thank you. You can sit in that chair.
Hello? Is this thing on?
Yes, it is.
How you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Thank you.
I've never done this before, so do I just go at it?
Yep, go for it.
Okay. So I might need a little more than 2 minutes. I'm gonna try to speak fast and as accurate as I can. But I'm sure everybody here's time crunch, so I'm gonna do my best. I have called Forest Grove, the police department, several times in the last couple of years to report unmuffled engines driving through the neighborhood during quiet hours, which are 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Washington County Code Chapter 8.24.030. I'm gonna stand up so I feel better. The first few times I spoke to the officers about noise laws, they had no knowledge of noise laws. 2 months later, I spoke to an officer to look over laws. Noise after also laws that's over for vehicle 6 or 8.5.50. He didn't know about the muffler law 84040, so I got that one. Then another officer came to the brick wall in the office. Someone needs to be there, see them, they can't take second knowledge. I asked, well, why can't you be there? He explained that they're often on their call and don't have time to pull over loud cars. He then explained that he needs measurable evidence that I have decimal. Explained that the whole department has decimal. I asked, who do I talk to? You guys more decimal. This has been going on for years. I called the Forest Grove department again on March 8th. Another officer had no idea what I was talking about. And I asked if anyone else in the department has ever cited someone for breaking noise laws. He said that he has never heard of anyone in the department. I have been bringing attention to this issue for a couple of years now, and hear that nobody's enforcing laws at the Forest Grove Police Department. So many people are breaking. I submitted a report to SST, told me that they forwarded it to Forest Grove people. When I spoke to Sergeant Dorick as part of his investigation into this, he was confused about what I wanted. That report submitted to him by the SST made it sound like I wanted to be officer. I said no. I told him that's not what I want. My goal is anyone in trouble. Those officers job. I want them to have more fun. They don't enforce laws. The ones that might are not as bad as the other ones. I agree that some situations, however, all laws. I don't want to make the problem worse by getting someone fired. I want to help. There is a reason why those laws are in place in court. Noise pollution has all sorts of negative health effects on people and Sergeant Torres explained to me that the department is very short staffed. Promised me that he would work to get his laws one decimal. He said he only has one decimal. So I want to help more. He then also regurgitated what one of the other officers said about officers he had seen to hand out a fine for breaking the law. I told him I agree and asked him how many people were pulled over speeding at aftermarket unregulated exhaustion. He said a lot. Now I said, probably think of better ideas than I how to uphold the law, but how much extra work would it be? Fine for an unlawful engine on top of it. Guys, more money, guy is incentivized. Say when he said, yeah, that could work. I hate loud cars too. I want to get them off the road. As I had told one other officer, I originally thought that it was legal for the Force Code to have aftermarket exhaust systems. One drives by roughly every second. This is not the case, however. They are very much legal. They just don't enforce. I'm here today to ask for more funding for the police officers at use that would quickly pay for stuff. I wasn't planning on something related to the safety of kids, but it is related in a way because it has shown that noise pollution in neighborhoods do lower IQ scores.
Oh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, do I sit down or do I?
I think you're good. You're good to go back to your seat. Thank you for your public comment. Okay. See you. Thank you. Okay, our second person signed up for public comment is Ms. Carol Allery. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
I'm here with a sad, okay? And the reason I'm sad, I am a mom of 5 children. I have 14 grandchildren. I have 11 great. I have used public libraries, children. You were talking about yourself, just quoting your own process about how the sex trade and everything has gotten worse and what's happening to our children, and yet you will allow in our public library books, pornography, books that should 5 years ago you would never even seen things that are so appalling that they break my heart. We're supposed to be safe. We're supposed to be the ones standing up, protecting the children, and we're throwing them into the wolves instead of for whatever reason. And I'm not going to be silent. People need to stand up, and we as the city council need to go over to the library and start checking out what you're seeing over there and realizing, do we want to have our children learn at age 5 things about their body that should never be taught because they're not able to do it? You get any psychologist who will sit before you and they will tell you the harm that these things are doing. And I'm pleading with you. Look at this, stand up. You have the power. Your voice is important, just like my voice is. Stand for what is truth, because you don't want this, you don't want your children to be eaten by this, and they will. Because this isn't going to stop. You think it's going to stop by being silent? No, this is going to. And I'm asking you to think about this. You know what I'm sharing with you is, and that truth is, we have a problem in our public. We need somebody and say, it's time to. I want to go back to times when I took the kids and we got good books and we could take them, we could get videos that were decent, and we knew things were okay. It was good. That's what I have.
Thank you for your public comment. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to give public comment? Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom who would like to give public comment? I don't see any participants. Okay, no attendees. Okay, moving on to item C, the consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will all be adopted with a single motion without separate discussion. Counselors who wish to remove an item from the consent agenda may do so prior to the motion. Any items removed will be discussed and acted upon following the approval of the remaining items. What is the wish of the council?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
The consent agenda was moved by Counselor Gustafson and seconded by Counselor Valenzuela. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say aye. Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved with a vote of 6-0. Item D, additions or deletions. Mr. City Manager, any additions or deletions?
There are no additions or deletions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any proposed by counselors? Seeing none, we will now move on to item E, which is our presentations. We have 3 presentations tonight. I would ask the council to hold questions until the end of each presentation. A 2-minute reminder will be given to the presenter to conclude remarks. And our first presenter is from the Family Justice Center, and it is Miss Rachel Schutz. Did I say her name right? I hope so. Okay, good. Miss Willie, are you coming up as well too? Great, thanks. Oh, we need another. Yeah, you'll grab it. Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nice to be here. Thank you for allowing us. My name is Judy Willie, and I'm the president of the Family Justice Center Board and have been involved since before we opened doors. So, a great ride. What I want to share with you in the start, Rachel is going to share a lot of great news in other ways, not great, but what we do, about happening in this. And what I want to share with you and to come before the City Council here is what our Board of Directors and the leadership part of the nonprofit, from that perspective, who we are, what we do, and the exciting times that we're going through right now. So I wrote down a couple notes about the board and we have more positions right now open on the board, and it's really because most of the board members have been with from almost the very beginning, and they sold off years go by, and so we're really excited that we have positions open, and we're looking at stronger and better board development in all areas. And we also would like to have more representation from around them. So we're serving every city in some form, whether it be on a committee or. And so I wanted to put that out there. If any of you are dying to be on the board, it would be great. Or if you know someone, we actually 3 years ago from Tiger, 2 board members come on board, maybe 4 or 5, and they were excellent recommendations for me. And so what we're looking for is actually moving forward. The other thing is we do still have strong leadership. Really pleased with the board members still, and everybody's really working hard right now from the board perspective on the new building we just purchased. And so that, I'll fold into that real quick. We a lot of building. We've been talking about it for probably 4 years now, about moving forward and needing more space. And Rachel's done a great job in bringing in more partners, and we really are out of space. And the biggest reason we wanted to find a new building was to bring West into our building. They do not have a home in Washington County that they call a home like they do a home. So a lot of parents and kids can travel still to Sonoma County. And as much as we do not like the idea that we're serving, I'm not sure that's true today, but they were serving more kids from Washington County than they. So that switch started happening, and that's what drove us to say we need. So soon, 2026 spring, we will be moving that building. We're now doing some remodeling. We'll be moving into that building in Hills, right on the corner of Hills. And it's much bigger than what we have today, and it will allow a lot of growth. And we're really excited about that. I would like to say that the next step we have is we've raised a lot of money to pay for the building and some money for remodel. And it's just the building was used for big open space. We have to now make a little, but the whole idea is we will be going into the campaign, the end of our raised all this money and some more to raise. So there's a lot ahead of us right now, Family Justice Center, but we're very proud of where we started, where we are today, and we know we're going to be in a center that really will serve a lot more people, survivors who really need, and increase. So Rachel.
Oh, thank you. And fresh food as well. We brought on Adelante Mujeres to offer services of their Espere program or the Beyond Trauma program that they offer now year round, which is just an incredible program. I mean, you guys more than any city know that. But they've been truly an amazing partners that we are so excited to have. And we were able to do more community events last year. We did our Run for Hope for the first time, which was during October's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we had over 150 community members come out. We were shocked by how many people came out, which was really fantastic. We did our Shop with the Top programs, and we did our Voices of Hope Survivor Art Gallery, which the third annual was just Tuesday. And that's a really beautiful event where survivors throughout the year collect their art, and there's a gallery in the county that will partner with us. You guys last year actually held it at the library for October, which was just amazing. We made such a great relationship there, and they're really interested to do it again in the future. And then we worked with our Voices Committee, which the Voices are survivors that have come through the Family Justice Center, and they choose to serve as on our advisory board to provide their voices in the operations and the policies and decision making at the Family Justice Center, but then also widely into our community, advocating for survivor-friendly policies and laws, both in the community, and then we've gotten to state work, which has been fantastic with local legislators. So Like I said, we served over 5,600 survivors last year with over 10,000 services. And I included in the report some of the outcomes because we started collecting outcomes from survivors that have gone through many of the programs and services that are offered there. 85% of survivors that said they felt that their children were cared for while they were at the center. 100% of survivors reported that they experienced trauma-informed care while receiving services. And 87% of survivors reported that they received the help that they needed to keep their family safe. So even more than all of our numbers, those are really the meaningful statistics to me. And then the one for Forest Grove specifically is that we served 95 people that reported that they were from Forest Grove and provided them with 177 services, which is an increase over all of the previous years, and I really attribute that to increased engagement with the community. I attribute that to also increased engagement with the city. I think that we always get a big drive in numbers from October through December, and having that exhibit here in Forest Grove really made a big difference in that. Because the library in particular was so generous in that they dedicated a huge amount of space, not only to the gallery itself, but they had signage and they had resources out on tables, and they also had readings that they pulled, which just made a really big difference for the community to be able to come in a safe manner in a place that they already trust, be able to pick up books and media that might help them discover about their own experience. And so I think that really made a big difference in Forest Grove's numbers this year. And then one interesting statistic, just to close out, was that Washington County as a whole identifies as 78% white and 22% people of color. But the Family Justice Center, our numbers are 57% people of color. And that really stood out to me this year, particularly because we know that there's a disproportionate impact on communities of color. We knew that coming out of the pandemic, and that continued to show up. But what I'm really grateful for is that the communities that need us the most are finding in the ways that are easiest to access for them. And so I'm grateful for all the partners. I'm grateful for all of the support that you guys have given us on a regular basis. It continues to make meaningful impact in Forest Grove, to be engaged with us even though we are not in Forest Grove. More of your residents, more of your survivors are getting those services because we continue to work together on making sure that that is accessible for them. So I just thank you again this year and look forward to speaking to you next year about what's going on in 2024.
Yeah, any questions? I have a question for staff and then a comment for you all. On our website, is there like a loading, I don't know what it's called because I'm not techie, but like resources community members can use? And do we have a link to the Family Justice Center? I'm just wondering, like one of the things we heard when Congresswoman Bonamici was here is people are looking to like get access to information, right? Like you don't know exactly what you need, something's happened. So just a landing spot where we can help facilitate. I would like to, I guess I would just say I would like to see it on our website if we don't. Somehow that we can link, virtually and figuratively and really link services to people in our community who might not know about the family justice system would be really, really helpful. And I just love the family justice system. I remember touring it when you first opened your doors, and just that idea of essential services. And life is hard, and it's especially hard when you're a victim of abuse. And I just think to be able to go to one spot and have so many resources is just amazing. So when I lose one of these jobs, I will definitely join your board. And I will try to recruit and get the word out because it's really just such a good resource. So, any other comments?
No, I just have well, first of all, thank you so much for the work that you do. I'm just wondering if you have, if there is any information throughout the city, for example, at the library, information of resources, brochures that you can leave that people can pick up and take with them, or just around the city.
was going to wonder. That's it. I was wondering that when you were presenting. I was like, how do people get out there? But that's so good, right? Isn't Ride Connection just such another great service? So, I mean, that could be another link, right? I know I love ProLink. Okay, cool. Council President Rippey.
Thank you again for your support. I really appreciate everything that you've done. I'm a big fan of the Family Justice Center. One of the little known facts nationwide, about 11 to 13% of domestic violence victims are males. Have you seen any males at all come to the Family Justice Center looking for support? Thank you. I do think I think we need to speak more openly about those kinds of issues for male. As a society, we just rarely mention it.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for coming out to Forest Grove and giving us the update. Thank you. Okay, our second presentation for the night is from our Library Commission, and they're going to do their annual report. And we have Miss Pamela Bailey coming up. Hello, Pamela.
Appreciate this opportunity to come and share and things about our library, and especially since it's National Library. And I know we have
She's wondering about the PowerPoint.
and then do I- okay. I'm doing. Okay, okay, there we are, our commission members. I'm the vice chair, and our commission members are Morgan Knapp, chair, Tina Atwood, and by Susan. And I'd also like to thank Valerie Ingram and Hattie Krebsbaugh, who have recently left the commission, who were terrific commissioners. So they are sorely missed. This one is about what the commission does. We work with the library director and the staff on matters of the library. So that's a lot of policies that we write, advocacy, staff support. We do things such as we bring treats to the library, Week. We develop policies along with Colleen and the staff. We also try to share information with the public about what the library does. A lot of the programming, the resources, the notary service that they have, a lot of the special exhibits talking about the that they had in October. And another thing that we have done a lot in the past is survey with the community to find out what it is that the community is looking for, what they like about the library. These are the three groups that work together to support the library. The Library Foundation is more in what we would call like capital campaigns. They were the ones who did a big addition to the library, and also largely the Molly's Garden project. And the Friends of the Library, you probably have seen a lot of what they do because they do book sales, and they also fund a lot of the programming, the reading program, and a lot of the programs that the library does. The commission is more of a, kind of behind the scenes group. We, like I said, we do a lot of policy and things. So still important. We all do it because we love it. Anything we can do. Here's our goals that we set on February 20th. And so you can see, number one, policy, inventory, and review. And then number two is National Library Week celebration, which is this next week. Just an example of policy. I'm not sure how much you guys know about it. Like the Rogers Room, we have a policy, a display policy, behavior policy, lots of things need to be updated. And then staff appreciation, that's something we would do for certainly National Library Week, if staff members retiring, or if they've had like a milestone of say 30 years, something. Gathering of the group is a time when the three groups get together, and we do this not every year, but maybe every other year. And it's important for us to know about what each of the groups is working on. And even though we might occasionally go to each other's meetings, it's important for us to have an opportunity to get together and really share the information that everybody is working on, because there's often a lot of work. And then also coming to city council meetings and sharing information with the board is important. And then number 6, it says support the Friends of the Library Freedom to Read event. So that's one of their goals this year. And we just try to support any of the efforts that they have that also we feel like support our library and our community out. And then this number 7 says develop guidelines for our library. And so that's something we've worked on because if you've been in there, notice there's a lot of art. And then the last one is WCCLS structure and governance. And there's a lot of changes that are possibly happening right now with WCCLS that could affect the library. And so we're trying to kind of just keep abreast of those changes to see what we might need to do differently at the library. It could affect funding, some other things. And there is our beautiful van. Marcy Kriebel did the mural that's on the wall by the Dick Ginsburg Garden. And then her artwork is also featured on the van, which is ready to roll for outreach. So that's one of the things that the library started to do a lot of during the pandemic was outreach. And they decided really, really found that to be a valuable, for the community to be out there at parks and really meeting people where they were. So that's our beautiful new. And there is Molly's garden, which Pauline and I thought it's such a beautiful picture. We're just going to put that in because we just love it. And that's an example of something that the Library Foundation and the Friends both work really hard. The other thing I want to say is just thank you to all of the amazing staff at our library, because they all have a role in making the library such a warm and welcoming place for everyone, young and old. And I have these brochures that I'm going to pass out to you. These are Carolina and Lily make these brochures every month that'll tell you about the library. So I will pass those out.
Thank you. Thank you.
And they're
Thank you.
very pretty.
Thank you.
And they're easy to read. So any questions for Pamela?
I have some.
Okay. Counselor Martinez.
So can you tell me, the library survey, I don't know that I've ever seen one. Does it usually go out to current patrons?
We haven't done one in a couple of years, but they've been in different forms. Years ago, we did them in your utility bill. That's been like 15 years ago. And then we did surveys in-house where we would have our questions. We have kind of, we figure out what are some key questions that we need to know the answers to. And we would do that right in the library. And then we did a listening tour a few years ago. I think that was our most recent, where we went out into the community in pairs. So we would go Safeway, Goodwill. I got to go to Urban Decanter, just all over the community. And it was both library commissioners and library staff that went out to just ask community members, like, what do you know about the library? What do you, have you been there? What do you think is really important for a library? It was very open-ended.
I'm not sure how to phrase this other question that I have. As far as what our local libraries look like, or what the content is that dictated by the community, or is that Washington County, because it is Washington County Library System?
It's more WCCLS, it's the county.
Okay. And the reason that I ask some of those questions is I have heard from people in the community also who are not happy with a lot of the books that are available for their young children and pubescent teens. Unhealthy information very often that they have access to that they're not ready for at this age, and that would be more appropriate for older, potentially older teens, not really, but more adults. So.
And I'm not sure quite what that is, but I think it's, we don't want to deny access to everyone. Maybe what you're saying is it sounds like it's kind of like something that would be age appropriate.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot, like the previous group talked about how important it is for people to be able to find something of themselves in the library. It can be really a very important, give them a sense of self, a sense of validation, to be able to find a book at the library that validates their experience. And I think that's a really important part of what libraries are all about.
And I agree, as long as children, I just, not for children. That's kind of where I stand. So, but thank you for coming and sharing the information about the library. I appreciate it.
Council President Rippey.
Thank you again for the presentation. I'm really excited about the mobile library. I think one of my most fondest memories of a kid, we had a park across the street from where we lived, and every summer I'd go get books. week after week. It was wonderful, and so I'm glad that we're engaging in that kind of activity. And I'm glad that the van looks beautiful. So I think it'll be attractive to kids. One question I had is regarding, this past year, we spent a lot of time looking at the boards and commission. And I guess one question I'd have for all of them, and as each of them present, are you getting enough guidance from the council on any work that you think you ought to be doing?
I think we are. I think the Library Commission is a little bit different from some of the other ones because Library Commission is required for libraries. So we're a little bit different from your other commissions, but we are Mariana Valenzuela is our one liaison, and so we meet, every month with her, and I just feel like we get information about what you guys are doing, and then Colleen and the library staff also. We have meetings where different people, Nathan or Carolina or Lily will come in and meet with the library commission so that we can kind of guide our, our agenda.
Okay, great. Good to hear. Thank you.
So I have a comment and then a follow-up question. So picture this. Sicily, I'm just kidding. Spring break. My son has a couple of friends stay the night, and in the morning they're eating and they're like developing their plan for the day. And they're like, oh, we're going to go to the library and then we're going to go to the pool and check out the new slide. And I was like, so excited. My mom, I think it was like more of like being the mayor. I was like, oh my gosh, these things we've put money into. And so then I meet with my intern from Pacific at the library. So then I saw him after school. So anyways, here comes my question. I think the teen area is a huge success. And I actually go to the library weekly. I was there today, and it's popping. And so I'm just wondering with the policies, as that space is more defined for teens. And it was funny because when I met with Abigail, she was sitting in there, and I was like, I'm not going in there because I'm an adult, and that's the teens. I like to value space. But anyways, I'm just wondering if our behavior policy, if the libraries found that is effective at every space in the library. Like, does there need to be, and I'm seeing Colleen say yes. So that's great news. And just a huge congratulations that I just think the library is always busy. Like I am not exaggerating that I go in there once a week. And I just feel like the study rooms are open, the teen libraries, like the more that I roam around, and in response to the public comment, I think in the council, about, I've never seen these library books, but I also think that as a city, as a policymaking group of 28,000, we have our is more of an umbrella. And if as a teacher too, if parents don't want their kids, like if something's not appropriate, then that's, I would say, the oversight of the parent to come and say, hey, I don't want you to check that out. I mean, that's like in my class, I write emails all the time, like, do you want to opt out? Do you want to do this? So I think too, just understanding that balance of like what we do for our taxpayers and then that boundary is all I would say. The whole community, correct. Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Pamela. And next up, we have the Hazel Sills Park Universally Accessible Playground Replacement, and we have our staff, Miss Ann Lane, and then I believe probably a consultant who's coming up to share much more. 2 consultants. I like it. So Ann will just pass the microphone down when.
No problem.
Okay, cool.
All right. So thank you for your time this evening, Mayor and Council. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to provide you with an update on the Universally Accessible Playground Replacement Project at Hazel Sills Park. Hazel Sills Park is a small half-acre neighborhood park located at 1627 Willamina Avenue. This project was identified both in the 2016 Park Recreation and Open Space Master Plan and on the capital improvement project for this current fiscal year. The project is being paid for by Hazel Hills Park is the first in a series of playground replacement projects slated to take place over the coming years. Each year, a different, already existing playground will be identified for replacement. We will be addressing playgrounds in the worst overall condition first. That assessment includes an examination of the overall condition, accessibility, and required maintenance of the existing site. The intended outcomes of this approach and effort are to provide play structures, play areas for the community that are universally accessible and inclusive, streamlined for reduced maintenance requirements, address and enhance safety features, encourage positive use, increase community awareness, support trust, is a source of pride and ownership in the community, and encourages park use and universally accessible play is the idea that all children benefit from it, and careful consideration should be taken to ensure as many kids have access to play as possible. Take a step back in time and think of your peers from grade school. You might remember that not all children enjoy the same type of environment or engage in the playground the same way. Some children sit to the side of the playground while others run to the activity or with friends. Many playgrounds were not made to accommodate children with disabilities or children that prefer different styles. Now imagine those kids playing alongside everyone else because they have access to play equipment or are offered a style of that they want to engage. Key component to universal accessibility is engagement of the highest number of kids, widest range of ability, through the creation of opportunities for a variety of types of play. The result is more opportunities to get outside. Through a request for proposal process that began in late August and closed in mid-October, we received 3 qualified proposals. Grass Stains LLC was selected and awarded the project. They have partnered with Learning Landscape Design on this project. Both agencies are well-versed in universally accessible and inclusive playground design and construction. So once all the contract and administrative dust settled, we got to work right away to develop a concept plan and review and select play feature options. The next step was a presentation to the Park Conservation Commission that took place at their December meeting. The commission was able to weigh in on equipment selection, gain a better understanding of how a universally accessible play feature is different than a standard play feature, and discuss common misconceptions of what a universally accessible playground looks like and how it's used collectively by those of all abilities. In January, we provided a brief community engagement opportunity via the city's social media platforms. We shared 2 options for the main play component and asked the community to vote and share feedback. We received 342 votes over a 7-day voting period. The crab trap was the hands down #1 choice, garnering 257 of them. It's important to note that we are not simply replacing a play structure. We've examined the entire park and are addressing barriers to access throughout the entire space. A few things we're doing to address the barriers include adding a concrete sidewalk along the frontage of the park property, a concrete path from the sidewalk to the playground and through to the existing path on the north side, and an ADA curb ramp from the street to the park. About a dozen new trees will be planted. Surfacing under the play structures will be a rubberized pour-in-place material. This product was also used. Replacing the 2 memorial benches, but reattaching the glass. Adding an ADA picnic table on a concrete pad with a trash can, and adding a bike. So this is a very exciting project that the city should be very proud to provide for the community. We have made a commitment to enhance livability through access to play and are establishing a new. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to Matt Holt.
Questions or no? Okay, questions, Council President Rippey?
Thank you, and appreciate it. And that park does need improvement. The one of the things I notice in contrast between what's existing there today and the old style of doing things, you have that wooden border around the sawdust, which is a tripping hazard both for children and adults, and particularly seniors, grandparents who are taking their grandchildren to the park. So I'm kind of curious as to the surface that you're using here. It's rubberized, but I'm interested in, being an engineering geek, what about the water runoff? Is that are you taking that into consideration? And is that just going to cause mud traps around the area? Yeah. Okay. Great, thank you.
I have a comment and a question. I really like the whole design, and I think too, when I try to explain, when we make things all inclusive, you support everyone, right? So like now someone who might need, assisted, like a wheelchair can get there, but also people who are coming for parties with coolers, people in strollers, right? Like it just really helps everyone. My question is maintenance with the Abby and Anna's playground. There's a piece of equipment there that just keeps breaking, and it's caused us a lot of, well, not me because I'm not staff, but it's caused staff a lot of headaches. So with the equipment that we're choosing, how easy is it to maintain, and what is the plan for upkeep? Keeping it real. Mm-hmm.
See the spinner there is slightly elevated. It's not in the grade, which is one of the conditions that cause that challenge with equipment. But it still has a transfer station, so it is still accessible.
Yeah, I see that on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You can still put it. That's cool. Okay. Thanks. Any other questions?
What's the plan with the old equipment? Is it outdated and can't be recycled, or can it be reused at other parks?
Good question.
Hmm.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you. It was nice meeting you all. Thank you so much.
Bunch of good news.
I know, right? I just feel very happy. Yeah, but right. No, we have work sessions after this. Okay, item F1, our second reading of ordinance number 2024-04. And I will now reopen the public hearing for a second reading of ordinance number 2024-04. The City Council passed a motion during the March 18th council meeting continuing the public hearing and advancing the ordinance to a second reading. If approved, the ordinance will amend the traffic code section of the Forest Grove City Code. I see that our city manager is filling in for Paul tonight. So are there any additional comments that staff would like to enter into the record?
There are none. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Does council have any questions for staff?
No.
Seeing no questions from council, I will now call on persons who signed up to comment on the ordinance. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. Are there any proponents who would like to give public testimony? Seeing none. Are there any opponents who would like to give public testimony? Seeing none. Are there any participants who would like to give what is categorized as other comments for the public hearing? Okay, the hearing is now closed. Is there a motion from the council to approve the second reading of ordinance number 2024-04?
I move that we approve ordinance 2024-04.
I second.
Perfect. It was moved by Councilor Martinez and seconded by Council President Rippey. Is there any further discussion from the council on the motion before we proceed with a roll call vote? Seeing none, will the city manager please read ordinance 2024-04 by title only?
Ordinance number 2024-04, adding to and amending Forest Grove Code of Ordinances Title 1, General Provisions, Section 10.09, Title 7, Traffic Code, Section 73.055, Immobilization and Impoundment of Vehicles, Section 74.01, Definitions, Section 74.05, Towing and Storage Liens, Section 74.06, Pre-Towing Notice, Section 74.07, Post-Towing Notice, Section 74.09, Charges and Release of Vehicle or Trailer, Section 74.10, Sale or Disposal of Vehicle or Trailer Not Reclaimed, and Section 74.11, Sale or Disposition of Vehicle or Trailer Appraised at $500 or less.
Thank you. Will the city recorder please call roll vote?
Councilor Gustafson?
Yes.
Council President Rippey?
Yes.
Councilor Martinez?
Yes.
Councilor Marshall?
Yes.
Councilor Valenzuela?
Yes.
Mayor Wenzel?
Yes. The vote is 6-0. Ordinance 2024-04 is adopted by the Forest Grove City Council. Okay, moving on to item F2. I'm going to ask Ms. Camilli to come up to present the staff report.
I've heard that our microphones aren't very well this evening, but
Okay.
you can hear me.
So is that TVC saying they're not working?
I'm not sure. I think it's.
I think
this
we
one.
just need to speak clearly and maybe a little more into the microphone.
That's asking a lot. Good evening, members of the City Council. On March 18th, we had a work session in which you reviewed and we had a chance to discuss the evaluation criteria to be used to evaluate the city manager's performance. Both the self-evaluation form and the City Council's form are in your packet. And now I'm going to put on my glasses like I have here. We also went over the evaluation process and the timeline and made a couple of adjustments to that, which are reflected in the staff memo that you have in your packet. The resolution to adopt the evaluation criteria and process is before you this evening. The council has the option to approve, deny, or amend by motion the evaluation criteria. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, everything is the same as it was during the work session.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none, I will now ask for a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-10.
I move that we approve resolution number 2024-10.
Second.
Okay. Resolution 2024-10 was moved by Council President Rippey and seconded by Councilor Gustafson. Will the city manager please read the resolution by title only?
Resolution number 2024-10, adapting city manager performance evaluation and self-evaluation forms and review criteria, repealing resolution number 2023-11.
Thank you. Discussion by council? Crickets. Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say aye. Hearing none. Resolution 2024-10 is approved by the Forest Grove City Council in a vote of 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
So now we have item F3, which is resolution number 2024-11. And we have City Manager Vander Zanden here to give the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I am filling in for Paul Downey, Assistant City Manager, Finance Director, who was not feeling well this evening. The staff report was in the city council packet, but basically this is an amendment to the fiscal year 23-24 budget to receive two unanticipated revenues. One was $14,750.60 from the American Medical Response, or AMR, for ambulatory service. The other was $38,000 and $38,080.96 from an insurance company settlement having to do with the Public Works facility in which the gate hit the back of the aerial platform on one of our engines. This resolution would put an amendment to this fiscal year's budget to be able to receive these funds. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions for Jesse?
Yeah, I guess the question with regard to the AMR, that's refunds because we've had to fill in.
Correct.
And okay.
Yeah, the amount of the AMR response has dropped off dramatically. Since AMR and Metro West have joined into a contractual relationship, the amount that both us and other agencies such as Hillsborough and TVFNR have had to have supplemental responses has dropped off dramatically. So this is principally from several months ago. It's less recent and more compensation for what we did several months ago.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion on resolution 2024-11.
I move to approve resolution number 2024-11.
I second.
Okay, resolution number 2024-11 was moved by Councilor Gustafson and seconded by Councilor Martinez. Will the city manager please read the resolution by title only?
Resolution number 2024-11, adding appropriations to the fire department budget within the general fund in the fiscal year 2023-24 for reimbursements for unanticipated expenditures incurred for supplies and apparatus repair.
Thank you. Discussion, council discussion? Seeing none, because this deals with appropriations and money, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote from the city recorder.
Councilor Gustafson?
Yes.
Council President Rippey?
Yes.
Councilor Martinez?
Yes.
Councilor Marshall?
Yes.
Councilor Valenzuela?
Yes.
Mayor Wenzel?
Yes. With a vote of 6-0, resolution number 2024-11 is approved by the Forest Grove City Council. Okay, we're now moving on to item G, which is council communications. The order of council communications is on the agenda, so we're going to start with Councilor Rippey. Council President Rippey.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
So I attended the Chamber's gala event. I also attended the events for By Habitat and the Chamber with Congresswoman Von Amici. I have had no commission meetings or other board meetings since we last met. And the only other thing I would like to make a comment about is the intersection at Gales Creek and Thatcher Road is now complete. And actually last Tuesday on my way home, I had to stop because there was a student using the rapid flashing beacon to cross the road. And that was why we wanted this whole thing in the first place, was to give students a safe way to cross that intersection. So my thanks and kudos to Greg Robertson and the county for redesigning that intersection and providing a safe pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular area. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Councilor Gustafson.
I wasn't at the last PAC meeting, but I do have their notes, and I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention. They're talking about an installation date for the Guardian sculpture installation on the 11th of April or the 12th of April. I'm going to go ahead and shoot them an email to verify that, because I think that they're going to have some sort of dedication as well. So I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to attend.
Yeah, thanks. And let us know if they want one of us there.
Will do. Other than that, I didn't check with Jesse to see if a form had been created. Okay, awesome. So I'll get that. And then other than that, the Joint Water Commission meeting is later this week, so I don't have anything to report there. That's all I got.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Marshall.
All right, so forestry, they're looking at what trees to be planted, or that are going to be planted for Arbor Day. Looking to plant red cedar at the Joe Gale Park west side of the baseball field.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking on that, and we were kind of going over downtown street tree management proposals. They're going to write out some more details to bring to council to kind of get their idea of which avenue they want to proceed with. And our next meeting will be 4/17. So I actually think I'll have more information on that after that meeting on what's going to go forward with downtown tree management. And then I think, Ann, I'm going to ask you, April 11th, is it the day that we're planting? Okay, April 11th, 10 a.m., Joe Gale.
Okay. I
was actually texting you to try to figure it out real quick beforehand. As far as Parks and Rec, I was going to go over the Hazel Sills. Looks like they kind of went over that. Also was going hand in hand with, they were talking about Joe Gale for planting the tree. Did we set up cameras at Stites Park? And was it Rogers Park? That has led to a decrease in graffiti.
Oh, good.
Because they've been able to find the people that are doing it. Pool slides were installed. Added water polo classes. Pool is fully staffed for the first time in 4 years.
Yes.
As far as the rec side, youth pickleball was a success, preparing for summer rec programs, and they're going to be extending the Forest Grove from 6 to 8 weeks.
Cool.
So, yeah, NAM's the fences are going up to turf the fields, and Cornelius is, I believe, up now. Is it already up right now? Do you know if the Cornelius is up? Fences
To turf.
to turf the fields. Yeah. I remember seeing them starting to do the process of that. I don't know if they were totally up yet, but I know that they're going to be up soon for both NAMS and Cornelius to do the fields. But, that's what I have for that.
Cool. Thank you. Hang on, let me do my check mark so I'm getting confused on my list. Okay, Councilor Martinez.
Just so you know, Anne, my granddaughters did a thumbs up on the slides at the pool. They loved it. So I attended the Forest Grove Rural Fire Department district meeting last week. And one of the members had asked about, from Gales Creek, they wondered about a CERT grant that they're going to look into. It's for CERT is Citizen Emergency Response Team. They had quite a few people that were interested, and so they're going to look into it. There's some pros and cons to that, but we'll see what transpires from that process. Forest Grove has their ambulance in possession. It's currently in the shop. They're hoping that it will be up and ready to run May to June, and that volunteers will be manning that. That's about it.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilor Martinez. Councilor Valenzuela.
All right, thank you. So we had the library here today, but we did have a meeting last week, but everything was set for the Policy Advisory Board. That should be PAB, I believe, at the end of here on the handout.
Community
Just
Development Block
yeah,
Grant. You want
and the
PA?
meeting is coming up on this Thursday because they canceled last month's meeting. So I will have news for you from them for next week. I mean, next meeting.
Next Monday, yeah,
Yes.
meeting, whatever. Perfect.
So that's all from me.
Thank you. City Manager Vander Zanden. I almost said Councilor Vander.
So just a few things. We've completed the selection process for the city's emergency operations plan. A consultant has been selected, so we're currently in negotiations for that contract. We've also made an initial selection for the 2040 plan, so we're currently in negotiations also with that contractor. So once those are negotiated, we'll make an announcement both to the council and to the community about what consultants those are. There's been an extensive amount of outreach from the police department over the past month. There was Coffee with a Cop, March 23rd. There was some scam prevention presentations at both Elms and Brookdale Senior Living, both of which were very well attended. And as of March 31st, the Community Academy class, which the police department has restarted. This was formerly the academy class that was halted during COVID, but is now restarted again. It's full. It filled up as of March 31st. It's going to be held on Wednesdays from 6 to 9 p.m. It'll start April 17th, and it will be 6 weeks. We are looking at adding some different elements to the Community Academy, but encouraging that it's full. There's going to be a scam presentation provided by the police department at the senior center on April 19th. If you have any questions about that, you can go online, contact the police department, but it will be April 19th. Just in terms of kind of overall outreach, in virtually every department, whether it's parks, city hall, police, library, our social media outreach on both Facebook and Instagram is up. Our e-newsletter subscription is up. So we are reaching more people with more items. And so just real happy about that. Police kind of hit a big milestone. They wanted to surpass 14,000 this year, and they did in terms of Facebook followers. So kudos to Lauren Queensland for her efforts there. And then I think, last but certainly not least, applications are open for the Community Enhancement Program and the Community Impact Grants. Those applications will be open through April 30th. They opened up April 1st. You can apply online. You can call staff with any questions, but that process is open currently for all qualifying entities. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Okay, so I'm going to start with my report, and I think I'm going to check off as I go. 'Cause last month I forgot to say something. So I attended Coffee with a Cop on the 23rd of March at Starbucks, and I think that was really cool. It's a great event. And the questions, the most common theme question I heard was about growth, development, and so it was really cool because I could talk about the 2040 plan and then give a business card and maybe start recruiting for people to be engaged with that process. On the 23rd, I attended the Chamber Gala as well. They are moving away. I've been going to that for a long time, and with the new leadership in the chamber, they're trying to do like a Spirit of Forest Grove, like more awards. So former mayor, Mr. Richard Kidd, received the Lifetime Achievement Award. Adelante Mujeres received the Community Service or Volunteer, like nonprofit organization of the year. So those are a couple of really cool things. On the 1st of April, I attended Region 1 transportation meeting. And a couple notes, Washington County Commissioner Jerry Willey replaced Roy Rogers on that board. The ODOT came and talked to us about funding challenges. Recently, I think when we were in DC, the governor said that she was not going to pursue tolling. They talked about maintenance, decrease in maintenance. How are we going to continue to fund the decrease in gas tax, a RUC, basically. And then we also had the equity presentation about encouraging more equity and more representation. And I brought that up at the budget meeting, and I sent that presentation to staff. I just think anytime we can align is better. The Oregon Mayors Association hosts the If I Could Be Mayor, or If I Were Mayor student project. Last year, 4 people participated, and this year when I went to judge the contributions, or there was, I want to say, close to 15, and we have awards for each age group. So we have a high school winner, we have a middle school, and we have multiple elementary. So that's good news. We did some recruitment for the MEAC, and we have a group of 6 to 9 students. So we're looking to see when the meeting times are for them, and then service projects. I'm going to kind of jump, but I also attended the Pacific hosted, and Councilor Valenzuela was there as well, the first community engagement summit, and the people that hosted that was the McCall Center for Civic Engagement. So there's capacity to have the MEAC work with that group from Pacific on service programs, getting the vote out. So that was a really good, it was a really good presentation. I learned something. I was reminded of things. I really like just working with young people, but then it was also a good way for me to create those relationships with cooperation, collaboration within the youth civic engagement, right? So I thought that was really cool. Okay, so Martin Road is almost complete. So there's 2 MISTIP projects for this last funding cycle, and that was the Thatcher intersection that Council President Rippey spoke to, and then also the Martin Road roundabout, which just needs some painting, I think, and some signage. We just went through the next cycle of MISTIP projects, and the number 1 for our district, or District 4 in Washington County, was the Fern Hill, Maple, and 47. It's gone through a lot of the process, so they will actually start construction in 2025. That project did make it through the vetting and the selection process, so that's really good news for Forest Grove, and you can start telling people that. You can start saying, hey, yes, we have a plan, and it got approved, and we're partnering with the county to get that done. On the 4th, Congresswoman Bonamici was here, and they had an event with Habitat. Thank you to Council President Rippey for going to that in the morning. It was with the USDA. And then the chamber luncheon, she came and listened to small business, just business owners, about what their needs are. I thought it was a really good, just informal, but really elevated some concerns from different areas of business within Forest Grove. And then I already spoke to the fact on Saturday, I attended the Spirit of Civic Engagement Summit at Pacific. Coming soon, tomorrow night, at the East Side Park location is going to be a community engagement from 5:30 to 7. Refreshments and just kind of listening to what people want there. So if you can make it, that'd be great. I have it on my calendar. This Saturday, Pacific's Luau is happening. The 14th, Waltz Brewery down the road is having a chili cook-off, and Police Chief Ryman and myself are the judges. Next week on the 17th through the 20th is the Oregon Heritage Conference. And, one of the award winners is my mother-in-law, Mary Jo Morelli, who's been doing historic preservation in Forest Grove for over 50 years. And so she will be receiving an award on Thursday, April 18th. And then in 2 weeks, the day of our next council meeting, April 22nd at noon, is the Chamber State of the City address in this location. So that is all I have. I hope I didn't forget anything. I went through my whole list. So I'm going to adjourn this meeting.
Didn't you win something at Chamber?
Yes.
Give yourself credit. Spirit of, what was it, the Spirit of Forest Grove?
Yes, thank you, Councilor Marshall.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
Didn't mean to embarrass you.
I was it's going to roll. Thank you. So TBC TV needs 1 minute to switch to the work session video. So if we could stay at the dais, then we can move on, because we have 2 work sessions, 1 hour. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, cool. So I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you. And
So what day's the East?
I think we're good to go. So I'm going to call to order this work session, which is going to speak to Parks Conduct Policy. And we have our Parks and Rec Director, Miss Ann Lane, who's going to begin.
All right.
Thank you for your time again this evening, Mayor and Council. We'll be discussing the Parks and Recreation Patron Code of Conduct Policy. Patron Code of Conduct Policy outlines and defines behaviors that are deemed inappropriate and or unacceptable. A draft of the policy has been provided in your packet for this evening. The purpose of the Patron Code of Conduct Policy is to encourage behavior that supports the Parks and Recreation mission and values of serving and enhancing the lives of all members of the community. Parks and Recreation Department deems behavior unacceptable when it interferes with the Parks and Recreation mission, impinges on the rights of others, causes damage to facilities or equipment, or is dangerous to self or others. The Patron Code of Conduct indicates that the policy is enforceable at Parks and Recreation facilities. Those facilities include all park properties owned and managed by the City of Forest Grove, the Forest Grove Aquatic Center, and any area where a Forest Grove Parks and Recreation activity is taking place. For Parks and Recreation staff to enforce the Patron Code of Conduct policy, the policy must be formally adopted with a resolution by the council. This is a necessary step so that the city's existing exclusion policy can be utilized if necessary. The Parks and Recreation Patron Code of Conduct policy provides staff with a tool that can be used to ensure the safety of themselves and others. It provides clarity on what is considered unacceptable and or inappropriate behaviors, and it provides guidelines for a consistent staff response when working with difficult patrons. Coupled with the implementation of the Patron Code of Conduct policy, a reporting and tracking system will be established and maintained by the department administrative staff. So I'm happy to take any questions that you may.
Jesse, I guess, has the first question.
Just to maybe add a little bit, thank you, Ann. Just to maybe add a little bit, this is similar to the library's conduct policy. Library has a conduct policy as well that was adopted by resolution by the council. The purpose of tonight's work session was just to allow the council an opportunity to ask questions. We were going to schedule it for a resolution, I think, at the next city council meeting, notwithstanding this work session. So that's all I've got. Thank you, Mayor.
I have a question. Well, I have a lot of questions, but I'll start with this question. So do we need to have patrons, like when I sign up for my library card, or like every so often you have to like sign up or renew, I think it's like 5 years, or like when I get a punch pass at the pool for my kid, like are we going to have people sign this, or do we need to even do that, or is it just like to sign sign that they've read it, and we don't really need to do that, do we?
No, but it will be posted in the facility.
And is it on our, is the library one on our website? And is
Yes, the
all of these
library
will
one
be-
is on our website. It's posted publicly as well. Mhm.
Cool. Oh, sorry, Council President.
So, thank you, Ann. Couple observations or questions. We had, in number 11, we talk about smoking and chewing, those kinds of products, but I don't see anywhere that we are addressing alcoholic products or drugs of any kind. So I'm just curious as to whether or not those would also constitute behaviors that we don't want present, and we might want to consider adding those. The second comment I have to do with is the exclusion area on the next page. And we talk about the facilities, but I would also suggest that you put wording in there that includes the parking lots adjacent to those facilities. People might interpret that, well, I can't do these things in the aquatic center, but I can certainly do them out in the parking lot. And that's not acceptable either from my perspective. So you might want to include the parking. That gives you some more leeway too in terms of controlling what's going on around the facility.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Currently, can people, like if someone rents a space at Lincoln Park, like rents a shelter space to have a birthday party, right? Can people bring alcohol and drink on park? It's already like a no.
Alcohol is not permitted in city.
So, and that's a That's a city property prohibition, so it's not just for parks, it's also for libraries, city hall, et cetera. So there's kind of a blanket there already for those types of, whether it's drugs or alcohol or tobacco.
Right, but I guess my point is if this is going to be posted, the alcohol one is buried somewhere in code, whereas this gets posted at the facility, and if you list the alcohol also in accordance with section such and such of the code, then you're addressing that as well. So if somebody's reading that, they know that that's not allowed either. A simple reference to an already existing code.
We could certainly include something like that in the public posting, for sure.
I don't know how I feel. Like, so can we? I don't. Well, I could pull out my iPad but with are you saying that people shouldn't be allowed to smoke cigarettes in the parking lot of a city facility? I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I don't want to also shame people who like maybe have a vice that, like, I don't want to value base some things.
I hear what you're saying, but my thought was more around the loud noise, the behaviors, the bullying, those kinds of engagement. I wasn't thinking of the smoking. I hear what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people can smoke out in the public but the other things there that are listed, I wouldn't want them going on in the parking lots either. Because kids can, somebody will get in an argument in the pool area and they'll just take it outside the parking lot. And that's where you end up, because it's not necessarily supervised or monitored. Then quite honestly, that's where domestic violence starts. A lot of time is in those parking lots. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need to, we ensure that doesn't happen. And so I don't know how you
word it, but
how you cut the fine print in terms of, you can do it. You can't do anything in the parking lot but smoke.
well, I mean, the thing is, if the behavior policy, I mean, is it just maybe the keywords of like city property? Like, you need to leave the city property. Like, if you've been asked to leave the pool or this park, like you're asked to leave city property. I don't know. I'm
So-
trying to figure it out in my head right now.
Any parking lot that's within the boundaries of a park are considered park property. So that would include the parking lot at the aquatic center. It's park property.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the policy? So do we have consensus for Anne to bring this as a resolution?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to adjourn this work session, and then I'm going to call our Community Development Director, Mr. Brian Pohl, up to talk about Tourism Event Sponsorship Program for our second work session. Hello.
Hello. It's fun to see yourself.
I know, I just don't look.
Try not to, actually. Well, good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Brian Pohl, Community Development Director, City of Forest Grove, before you tonight on talk about some potential changes to the tourism sponsorship program. You've seen a lot of these before, but as we'll get to in the background, you all expressed a desire to have a work session. So here we are. We brought Resolution 2024-06 in front of you, which would have modified the guidelines existing tourism sponsorship program. Next slide. But by way of background, this program was originally funded. It's funded out of TLT at $40,000 for fiscal year 23-24. So far, the council has approved 6 applications that total $27,500. We do not see if all this money will be spent, although it possibly could. At the current program levels, this would allow us to fund about 8 to 13 events per year. And just a reminder that these applications are approved. They're reviewed by staff, approved by council. Obviously, they can be pulled as they have been before, but that is standard practice. Next slide. On October 23rd, we had a work session about the overall tourism program. On November 23rd, we had a council resolution that created the tourism sponsorship. And then staff, kind of seeing that the program could be oversubscribed and there were some potential flaws with the program, brought back resolution 2024-06 that would have made some modifications to the existing tourism sponsorship. So just to kind of give you the background of what happened at that meeting, there was a motion to approve resolution 2024-06, made and seconded. And there was a motion, an amendment to the resolution was passed, which you had some discussion about. These changes would not take place or take effect until July 1st, 2024. I'm just going to read. Subsequent to the amendment's passage, a motion was passed to table resolution 2024-06 to May 28th, 2024, hold this work session. Now, with the purpose being to seek consensus on any changes in 2024-06 prior to that. Next slide. So there were 3 clarifications that were sought in 2024-06, and that was that you kind of conceptualize program sponsorship levels or event sponsorship levels. A lot of times you'll see events come, silver, bronze, platinum sponsorship levels. And so one thing that staff brought before you was that we would only award a sponsorship equal to or less than the maximum sponsorship level of the event. So if an event has a maximum sponsorship level of $3,000, sponsor that for $3,000. Additionally, if the maximum sponsorship level is $10,000, we would only go to a maximum of $5,000. And that was contained in 2020. Also contained in that resolution was that if an event lacks a sponsorship program, the most we would award for a non-sponsorship program event would be $2,000. And that's obviously in an effort to encourage organizations to develop sponsorship. The lesson that we included in that was that the event organizer must produce marketing materials that include the city marketing materials. We realized this needed to be a requirement to assure that the event was marketed outside of Forest Grove. The city was recognized. Obviously, these are for tourism events. We want people to come into town to the other issues that were raised in that discussion was that the council expressed, or at least some members of the council expressed, the desire to see that that the distribution of funds throughout the community were kind of community-wide and not just for a couple organizations, by either capping the amount a single organization can receive or limiting the number of times that one event can sponsor. Another question that was raised was, how does the program reward and restrict year-over-year events and spur new and innovative events? And currently, an organization can apply anytime during the year until the funds run out. The council also discussed having an application period, which we've taken up. Review and award those events. Kind of have it close off. Slide. The questions for council tonight, really in front of you, are: do we want to only award a sponsorship level or sponsorship equal to or less than the maximum sponsorship level of the event? Is council okay with the idea that if an event lacks a sponsorship program, we would cap that to $2,000 our participation? We want to make it a program requirement to produce marketing materials. City. We want to limit the amount of funding a single organization can receive in a fiscal year. We want to limit the number of times an event can receive funding. And we want to allow a rolling application or a certain open application period closure. So those are the questions that we are sort of putting forward for you tonight to allow for you to have discussion on. Next slide, please.
Okay.
And that's it.
So my proposal is that we go just not like, let's do number 1 and then everybody gets to say their opinion, and I'll kind of keep tally of what we have for consensus, and we'll just go through one, then we'll do two. Does that work for everybody? Okay, so number one, only award a sponsorship equal to or less than the maximum sponsorship level of the event. I see thumbs up. I have a thumbs up too. So this is a yes. Okay, number two, if the event lacks a sponsorship program, cap the sponsorship to 2,000. I see 5 yeses and only one Dylan. So I'm going to say consensus is yes. Okay. Number three, make it a program requirement to produce marketing materials that include the city in them. Okay, we're rolling. Look at this group. And then number four, limit the amount of sponsorship funding a single organization can receive in a fiscal year. Dude, look at this consensus. What? You don't know about that? You're saying?
Yeah.
I have 5
But go
thumbs
ahead.
up.
I know.
Okay,
I know.
sorry.
So just move,
And then limit the number of times an event can receive funding. I don't know if we need to do that if we limit I'm going to say no on that. Because if you limit the amount of the sponsorship.
If it's a good event
Yeah.
that draws a lot of people, why
Yeah.
limit it?
So I would say, yeah. And you have one yes, a no, a no, a no. And okay, so consensus is no.
For number 5, Mayor? Okay.
Well, and because of it, yeah. I mean, I know I don't want to speak for you, but your concern is people just depending on the funding and not. I know. I also think, though, that sometimes the opposite is true, is that community members depend on that event, and it becomes like a destination. It becomes like a home, it becomes something.
I wouldn't want an organization to just automatically, oh, we're going to get 2,000 from the city. Oh, we don't have to worry about it. We're going to get at least 2,000. And so then it's not a decision by the council. They're more or less expected. And so
City manager. Yeah.
One of the things that we talked about internally at staff is maybe after we have 2 or 3 years of applications under our belt and we get a better feel about what events are being done and what marketing is being done, is at that particular time maybe require some criteria commensurate with the application. Like, did they keep track of how many people came from, outside of town? Can we attach it to a vacancy rate for hotels or an occupancy rate? A little bit early in the program to do that now, but that might address that kind of number 5. But at this point, it's still so early in the program that we're just seeing how it might kind of work out. So
I think there's a lot of merit to that. That number 5 one is tied to outcomes.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
It's not just it's tied to outcomes.
I agree. Okay,
so we may not need to include it at this time.
We might revisit it. We will revisit it. That's
I
what I'm
think-
hearing is staff saying they're.
yeah, we'll revisit it. We need to get kind of a better sense of what events, what the money's going toward. Are they attracting folks? Are they not? And then we can start adding some kind of reporting requirements to it. But we'd kind of like to get a year or 2 under our belt to see just what we're getting in the door first.
Okay, and then are we good with this discussion? Okay, so number 6.
Rolling application.
Yeah, rolling application, I say yes to. Okay, we killed it.
Wow.
I would just like to say, good job, Kim. That was so fast.
You guys were so fast, I didn't get my notes complete on number 4. Can we just
Yeah.
revisit that one again? I
Okay,
wasn't
let's
sure.
go, because we want to now know the amount. So let's circle back to number 4, and it says limit the amount of sponsorship funding a single organization can receive in a fiscal year. So I want to make sure we all have, right now the city has budgeted $40,000. So, I mean, I'm going to throw out a number, but I'm just going to throw out a number. Is it 10,000? An organization, is that too much, too little? I don't know.
To help illuminate this a little bit, at the staff level, we had this conversation
Yeah, what did
about
staff
this
say?
very thing and the merits of it. I think this is probably one of the most things. By its very nature, a lot of these events will be held by the same organizations. Only so many organizations doing big tourism events. And so I don't know that we can any conclusions on staff level, but, limiting one organization to 1 or 2 a year might be probably have 2 or 3 organizations for tourism. Maybe, I don't know, but we didn't come to a conclusion. That's just sort of everybody think discussion.
Yeah, I think you're completely accurate. What I think though as well is like, I'm just gonna throw out what I'm thinking, but like Pacific University, their football games, their home, like specifically homecoming, their home football games and graduation probably draw in the most revenue for TLT. So I think I'm not married to any sort of amount, but what I also want to make sure is if there's an organization that, I mean, I think Council President Rippey said at the last meeting, like the Chamber and City Club sponsor the most events. And so he was like, these are the 2 organizations, which I agree, but I just want to make sure we keep capacity for if, Valley Art with the Chalk Art or Pacific comes or any other organization comes and says, hey, we have this idea for this event. Like, Pacific's going to do their first powwow, their first on May 4th. That's going to draw people and that's going to be huge for downtown business. And so I just want to make sure that we hold space for new projects, for like more overnight stays as we grow.
So we're talking about $40,000 a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's tough because there might be a year that nobody's really asking for it except for one organization, and other years that everybody wants to do an event, So it's, unless we can block it off by quarter or something, I'm not really sure.
Well, yeah, this is a tough one because we asked them to develop a sponsorship program, and if they come up with a sponsorship program that says the platinum is $20,000 and then goes on down, and they're asking for $20,000, that's 50% of what we have. So I don't think that sort of shuts the door to several groups. And on the other hand, as Councilor Gustafson pointed out, if a organization is having 5 different events and they're asking for $2,000 each time, why should we limit it to just 2 or 3 events?
Right.
So
Isn't this about the money, like what we limit to for money? No.
Should we limit it to money or to a percent? I mean,
I think money.
Just a clarification, even if somebody did have a sponsorship of say 20,000, it would still be a maximum of 5,000 per event.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that would be, if the maximum is 5,000 per event, that means, and we did, so then maybe it's 15, so then it's 15, but I don't quite know. This is a tough one.
So I think it goes back to kind of the idea that we're trying to generate here. What we're trying, I think, at least from my perspective, is what we're trying to do is generate a number of tourism events of a variety of nature to attract many different types of people here. So I don't, if that is the intent of council, then can you leave it up to council to sort of regulate that that's actually happening and not a specific kind of event? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do know what you're trying to say, and I just think that I would feel more, I think policy, for me, like policy work is to create like enough, just like, bookends, right? You want it to be flexible enough that people can work with it, but you also want to give direction and have some like safeguards, right? So that the nonprofit knows like, I can, there's 10,000, whatever it is, there's this much money that I can apply for, and I have these events. Like, how do I want to kind of figure this out, right? And that you're making sure that when new council come on and new organization, like people are constantly rotating. So I just think that there's like a sweet spot, like a Goldilocks bed. I just don't know.
Maybe I like the rolling application idea, but if we had an application period, that would force all of the nonprofits to decide in advance, what are we doing for this year? and go ahead and apply. And so everything is, in this 1 month, we're going to, the staff are going to go through every single application, and that's when the decision will be made. You don't get your application in then, that's too bad for you. This is your application period. That way, all of the nonprofits get all of their applications in at once for the entire year, and staff can go through them.
I totally support that. Yeah. Better for us and for the organizations as well.
Right. The only thing is when somebody decides last minute, I'm going to have a, barbecue bake-off or whatever. It's just, you're not going to get the support because you didn't think of it ahead of time, and that's just the way it is.
The only other, another drawback I see to that is if there's an organization trying to host an event from outside, and that other organization doesn't have their calendar set yet, and you can't apply during the application period for something that's not under your control. So that's kind of why I was looking at the rolling application.
I think
because people have ideas throughout the year and find opportunities. I would rather go back to number 4 and say, let's just limit it to, at this point in time, to no more than 3 or 4.
Wait, are we?
Or dollar amount, I'm sorry.
Let's decide that first. Do we want to do number? So I read number 4 to speak to how much funding, a dollar amount that an organization. But then when I'm listening to Council President Rippey, he's reading it as how many events can they apply for. So let's let's create our common language. Is number 4, staff, were you thinking number 4 was a dollar amount or a number of events they could apply for?
Well, it's certainly up to you all. Obviously,
when you all wrote this.
But when we were talking about this, it was probably a dollar amount that I think we were talking.
So we're saying if that one single entity wants to do 20 events, they're only going to be able to get one set amount.
Yeah, like all accumulative. Like they can apply for as many events until they reach whatever the dollar amount is.
At a max of $5,000 per event.
Right, so they can do 5,000. So to me, I'm thinking, do we feel comfortable? So let's say everyone's maximum at 5,000. That's 3 events. Like that'd be 15,000. Do we think? But then if that leaves really only, well, anyways, like the one side of it means that if 3 entities would do that, the whole thing would be out. I don't know if that would necessarily happen. Do we think that, I'm anywhere, I can't decide between 10.
You also have to think, how much is it actually going to take to put on an event? Like, what's the cost?
No,
Each
I don't
event's
know
going
that.
to be a different price.
Yeah, this is a marketing kind of
This
stuff,
is bigger than just putting this number on it. It's not necessarily going to be one size fits all, because there are going to be bigger events. There are going to be, you could have a multiple day event. To advertise for that is going to be more than it is for a 5-hour event on a weekend. We also have to think if a number of these things are going to be in better weather, so you're limited into a shorter amount of periods. We can get it's too many variables to it to actually narrow it down to that number.
I think we, so far in the existing program guidelines, let's say that you do have a multiple day event or something like that. I think it already says in the guidelines that an event is eligible for 1 sponsorship. So like if there's, at least correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but I'm pretty sure that's what the existing guidelines say. And again, it's a sponsorship program. So in essence, we don't know necessarily what the nonprofit or the organization may use the monies for. We just know that we're sponsoring the event and we get some publicity out of that, and that they have to market it beyond Forest Grove. That makes sense. So,
Is this something that if we wait a year or 2 to see and pay attention to what events are coming in on a regular basis and really start tracking that?
I think we can do both. I think we can plan ahead and anticipate and kind of set some guidelines to make sure we roll. But I also think just how we're gonna review some of the other things, that this is definitely a program that I constantly tell them, we need to build in reviews. Look at the IGs. We need it. So I think what you're saying is accurate, but I think we should also try to do our best to take a stab at it. I would be fine saying 15,000. I'd be anywhere between, for me, I'm comfortable with anywhere between 10,000 and 15,000. I'm trying to think of how many events in Forest Grove right now bring in tourism, right? Or like that can be, do you have, let's just go through it. Let's start with the fiscal year July, right? So there could potentially be an independent thing, but that didn't, well, anyways, that could potentially be one. Then you have the Uncork in August, and you have Chalk Art in September, and the Corn Roast. Okay, so that's 3, and then you have Oktoberfest, and you have Holiday in the Grove. So we're at 5. What else have you guys seen? Come on, staff, help me out.
So currently, the existing program will fund anywhere between 8 to 13 events, depending on if the sponsorship is 3,000 or up to 5,000. If the council caps it at 2,000, if they don't have a sponsorship, that number could go up to around 15 events likely, because not everyone is going to get $5,000. Some sponsorships will be $3,000, and if they don't have a sponsorship program, it'll be $2,000. So if the top 3 changes are made, we would anticipate that the program would fund anywhere from probably 13 to 17 events.
Just for reference, so far you've approved 6 events, and then you have 5 in the hopper right now. 3 of those are for this fiscal year. The other 2 that have been applied for are in July of 2024. So that would be, if you just look at what we've gotten so far, that's 9 total applications for this fiscal year.
And not all of them are.
And how many organizations have applied?
Oh.
Five different organizations. So I'm going to throw out a number. I'm proposing a $10,000 cap first year.
I would throw out 12.
Okay.
And then I'd also, for the number of times, I'd say 3.
Is that, for number 5?
Yeah.
Okay. We said no for number 5 though.
Yeah, we
Just
went
for
to
the
number 5.
We said that there wasn't going to be a limit because we're going to limit the amount.
That's right. Everybody else, I was the only one that
Yeah, sorry, I wrote down our consensus things.
Okay.
I got you on that one. Okay, so you hear a number, let's discuss. I said 10,000, Council President Rupi said 12. What's other members?
I would say 15, but I think that whoever is having the events should be able to come to the council and ask for more exception. So, I mean, things automatically go through, and then if there's something that's really a great idea and they've already done their 3 events.
We're not doing the number of events.
Well, but if you do
Price.
$5,000 per, that's going to hit your 15,
So if
you
they've
know.
spent their allotted.
Yeah. I'm just afraid that we're gonna put people in too much of a shoebox, and then we're gonna have a great idea, and it's gonna be, 2 of the organizations in Forest Grove that aren't going to be able to have it because they've already blown their wad, and it's really helpful to have that money for the events.
Yeah, and I'm afraid on the opposite end that we're going to let a couple organizations are going to, use it, and then someone new or someone else.
That's why I said 12,000. That's
Yeah.
10, 15.
Yeah, are we
12.
fine with 10? What are you saying?
I would honestly, I would go with 12, but I also like what Donna's saying. If they needed more funds, they could come to us and ask for those funds to be done, because there is those events. I mean, as many as these events are bringing in things, I'm looking at like what this high school basketball state tournament brought in more than these things are bringing in as far as.
We're trying to get the pickleball tournament going here too,
Yeah,
which is
things like that. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
but you
so,
wanna,
but
like,
it, I think if they need more money later on down the line, it doesn't. I mean, just because an organization has done a couple of events but has a great idea that's going to limit what they can do, we shouldn't limit them for having great ideas. Who cares if they're the ones that keep putting on events that bring more people in? I don't care if that same big organization.
I'll
keeps
go with
doing
15.
it.
So you got 3 of us so far.
I think 15's too much, because if I'm just gonna say, like, what if you have the same two groups that have the 15, and then that leaves, so that's 30,000, that leaves $10,000 for everyone else.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at getting the program started, and you guys can adjust it next year.
I know, I think that, like, so I would feel better like this. As a fiscal conservative, I would feel better, and I would compromise and say 12. Like, as someone who's conservative, it's like, why don't you make sure, and then we can say, if in May, if we have more money, like, hey, we have this extra funding, like, come do whatever. But I would like to make sure it's equitable and accessible to the most people and the most different projects than saying, like, hey, we have these things, and then we're only going to be able to fund 6 projects. Like, and then someone else, I mean, if you did it that way, it's 6, there's 8 projects, right? Like, I don't know, I'm good with 12.
I'll go
12.
with 12.
Yeah,
I'm good
12.
with that.
12 with an exception?
Well, I don't know, like, let's revisit. I think we do a year and then see what, I don't want to make an exception before we know we need to make an exception. And I don't want people to think, like, because here's the deal, it's like, I don't know if you guys get this out and about in the community, but it's like, I mean, I hear a lot that, like, the city should be funding different things. The
City should be funding
this.
everything.
And so, like, for me, I don't want
Who wants
to,
things
like, we
free?
create policies so we don't have to pick and choose which thing we're, you know what I mean? Like, so for me, I just would rather have a policy that I can say, hey, this was the policy, right? And I definitely think we should revisit after a year. We'll know more.
Oh, yes. We'll have more experience with this, so absolutely.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
My notes are done now, so no more,
I know, everybody's-
more decisions can be made.
Okay, I'm adjourning this work session.
Thank you all.
Oh, my goodness.
Almost done until you reopen.
I know.